Hi, I'm Wes Benedict with the Libertarian Booster Pack. This video will cover Libertarian election results. We compiled the results from elections from 2010 through 2022 and included a lot more detail than you can get anywhere else. We hope that helps with the analysis. I think having the data and analysis available to people will help with making informed decisions when it comes to running for office and recruiting other candidates. Again, I'm Wes Benedict. I am a former executive director of the National Libertarian Party. I served for 8 years, and I co-founded the Libertarian Booster Pack. I founded the pack along with Arthur DiBianca, an activist from Austin, Texas. Most of the raw data that we used was actually collected by Arthur DiBianca, so a big thank you to him. It took months and months of effort. It sounds easy to just make a list of election results, but in some cases they're published on state websites, but in many cases he had to pick up the phone or email local elections administrators. In some of these smaller places, they don't even leave the results online for more than a few years. So we went through and collected all of that data, compiled it, and Art has been someone who's done this for years now. So if you add up all the months that he's done this, it's a lot of work. So a big thank you to Art for collecting this data. By the way, this is not copyrighted. Our work here, the results are all public information, and of course we've done some analysis with it and put it in a Google sheet that's got a lot of nice tables and things to help you out. You are welcome to download it, copy it, republish it, whatever. If you want to give us credit, that'd be nice, but you don't have to. If you have any corrections you notice, please send those to us. You can email us or go to the website and contact us. And finally, if you like the information we have here and would like to see more of this kind of thing, please donate. You can do that at our website, libertarianboosterpack.org. Okay, so I am now going to give you a quick overview of the entire spreadsheet that we put together. Let me move this down out of the way. So if you are, well, let me go to the home page. Okay, so if you are at the home page of the Libertarian Booster Pack and you go to candidates, select Libertarian election results, you'll see this graphic or this link. Just click on it. This is a compilation of records from 2010 through 2022. And this is a link where you can get there directly, libertarianboosterpack.org/results. So click on this. It takes you to the Google spreadsheet. This is a publicly viewable spreadsheet where you can scroll around and look at it. If you type something, it won't hurt anything it's set so that you can look at it and do some things without hurting the original source data. So this first page is an introduction. It's got some basic statistics and a list of charts and things. A couple things of note from that period, 2010 to 2022, Libertarians, there were 5,746 candidates, and they got a sum total of over 101 million votes. 481 candidates won their elections. That's 8% of the total. And the average vote percent for Libertarian was 13.12%. So sometimes people who don't like Libertarians say, oh, y'all always get 1%. Well, we actually have won 481 elections, and on average, we get 13%. 237 of the winners were from Pennsylvania, and 402 is the median number of votes for an election winner. In any case, this is an overview of the data. There's some definitions of some of the data fields that we used. Here is the source data table. This is the raw data where Art DiBianca spent months collecting collecting it all in great detail. It's got There, of course, it's got the number of votes and the percent they got and whether they won or not. It's also got up to 30 opponents and whether there were Democrats or Republicans on the ballot. Uh, so this key page, it talks about whether an election was a partisan or nonpartisan race, and it's got some other facts and figures to help explain how the data works. This is the first tab, tables by category. We've got things like tables that show the count of libertarian candidates of each type. So for president 3, state officer 454, U.S. rep 866. Got the average vote percents for candidates, the total number of votes for all of the candidates, and what kind of elections they were, if there was a Democrat or Republican on the ballot, and if they won or lost. So some interesting tables there. This tab has a tables by state, so you can see the numbers by state. This tables by race type is a lot more detail that talks about partisan races and nonpartisan races and the different kinds of partisan and nonpartisan. These filter pages allow you to create a list. Like if you want to create a list of all the state representative candidates in Colorado, you can do that quite quickly and efficiently. Some top 10 lists, most votes ever received. For example, Gary Johnson for president got 4.4 million votes. That's the most ever. Second highest. Well, I don't know if it's the most ever, but it probably is. But again, this is for 2010 through 2022. Joe Jorgensen, 1.8 million. Mark Ash for Court of Criminal Appeals, 1.6 million. So top 10 lists, highest percent for U.S. Senator. Now, in some cases, for U.S. Senator, if you have both a Republican and Democrat, then it's a little bit harder. So we've got it by whether there was a Democrat or Republican on the ballot, and down for state rep and state senate as well. This tab is a list of winners. Again, if I go to the bottom, 481 winners in total. It's sorted by the number of votes they received. So 242,000 votes down to a few hundred to win, and a bunch of candidates got one vote to win. Some didn't even have to get any votes to win. They had no opponents, I guess. So let's scroll back to the start, and I'm going to do a little more detail on these pages and explain the data a little bit more. So, source data. There's obvious things: state, the office they ran for, level, category. Level is federal, state, or local. Category is one of the first important things that we've indicated. I'm going to use state representative as an example, and I'm actually going to zip over to the other side of this where I've got it arranged a little bit differently. Data, filter views, create a temporary filter view. So a state representative is called different things in different states. So I'm going to select just the state representative category, hit OK. And now I'm going to look and see all the different things. So a state representative includes a state assembly member, which I believe is what they call them in California. A state delegate is what a state representative in Virginia is called. And then state representative is what most other places call it. So in some cases, we want to compile results and compare between the states. And this allows us to select all of the state representative candidates in an easy way. And there's other examples similar to the state rep where you might want to look at a category of candidates. So that's one of the features of this look. Let's see. We also have, well, in many cases, we have the source posted where where Art found these election results. So in some places, they don't leave the results posted anywhere for the long term. So that's why we don't have a link to all the election results, but you can jump straight to them in many cases. Of course, we got whether their votes and their percents. Label indicates if they were on the ballot as a libertarian or not. Some libertarians have been on the ballot as an independent because we didn't have ballot access, or they might have been a fusion candidate. So we indicate, or if it was nonpartisan, so we indicate what their label was on the ballot. And let me go ahead and discuss partisan and nonpartisan candidates. It's easy to determine what a partisan libertarian candidate is because they're listed on the ballot as a libertarian most of the time. When it comes to nonpartisan, what we did was we used, it's not exactly clear how to define who is a libertarian candidate in a nonpartisan race. We've gone by the way the Libertarian Party has historically defined it. So if you're a dues paying member of the Libertarian Party and you run for a nonpartisan race like Austin City Council, the fact that you're a dues paying member and want to be considered a libertarian means we'll consider you as the libertarian candidate in that nonpartisan race. So in the results here, Op 1 is the name of the opponent number one. We indicate what their party was and the number of votes they received. So often there's only 1, 2, or 3 candidates, but in some cases, there are lots and lots of opponents on the ballot. So we made space in this database for up to 30 opponents. And okay, another way we've categorized these elections, is it partisan or nonpartisan, but also is it a partisan with a single winner, or in some cases you have partisan races where you can come in second place and win. So it's obviously if you can come in second place and still be elected, that's easier than coming in first place in a single winner partisan race. So we've indicated that. Let's see, we've indicated if there's a Republican opponent on the ballot and a Democrat, or one or the other, or neither. And let's see, what's another? The other interesting figure is, did they lose? Did they win? And if they won, did they win by actually defeating someone else who was on the ballot, or did they win by default? And to win by default, an example of that would be if there was only one candidate on the ballot and you didn't have to beat anyone, then we say you won by default. So it's a little easier to win by default than having to campaign against people, of course. So there's quite a bit. There's other fields, and I'm not going to take the time to get into all the details on all of them, but a lot of it aids in doing some of this analysis that I'll go over later. So now on this key tab, if you look at the type codes, this explains if it's a partisan race just with a single winner, or if there's multiple winners, if it's a fusion race, partisan fusion. So there's a lot of different types of elections out there, and it's helpful to have them categorized so that when you're comparing results from one election to the other, you're comparing apples to apples. Tables by category. So here is those tables again. This has a count of libertarian candidates by year. So if you come down here, of course, there's 3 for president, 886 for state representative, and you can just scroll over and see the different numbers for different categories. School board, 95 candidates, a total of 5,746. Here, I've taken an average of all the percents for the candidates, and I think strict mathematicians or statisticians may have an issue with taking an average of percents of things that aren't exactly related. I'm an engineer. Engineers are practical, so I did it anyway. And of course, down for president, 1.8% average. It looks like we're getting higher percentages the more we move to these more local elections, with an overall average of 13.12% for libertarians. Sum of votes received, this totals all the votes for different categories, and that's where we come up with 101 million votes in all for libertarian candidates in this period. Here we look at whether they won or lost, and if they won, by what type. So 3 candidates for president, they've all lost. U.S. Senator, 140, all lost. U.S. Representative, all lost. Get over here to state representative. 1 candidate won, and he won by defeating someone. Now, that was Marshall Burt in Wyoming. Perhaps you've heard of him. We have had candidates in the past win state representative races that were before 2010. So this is the only one since 2010. Scrolling on over, when you get to these more local races, county boards, municipal officers. A lot of these municipal officers are in Pennsylvania, and 146 won by default, 13 won by defeating someone, and 63 won by write-in. So Pennsylvania is a special case. I'll talk about it more when I get to the state tab of winners. This table shows if there was a Republican or Democrat or both opposing the candidate, and average percent depending on if there's a Republican or Democrat. So let's just look at this real quick. For U.S. Representative, if there's a Democrat and no Republican, we average 11%. If there was a Republican and a Democrat, we averaged 2.64%. And if there's a Republican but no Democrat, 12.6%. So this 11.5 and 12.5 is pretty close. We kind of do this close to the same if we're only running against a single candidate of the major parties. Okay, down here, count of candidates who won their races by type. So not many winning these big races. The municipal officer, municipal boards, school boards, those we're winning. 481 total. And this categorizes the elections by type. Now, nonpartisan with single winner, that's like a typical city council race where you're running for mayor or city council. You have to get first place to win. If you get second place, that doesn't matter. Nonpartisan with 2 winners. Now in these, if you get second place, you are actually elected. So there's 2 seats, at least 2 winners win. Scrolling on down, nonpartisan single winner is by far the biggest category. It's the most common type of elections that we have. It's what all of the U.S. representative races are. 4,362. Now there are partisan with multiple winners, and those are listed and counted here as well. So tables by state. I'm moving to the tables by state tab. Here you can look at the various states and how they're doing. Let me come back here real quick. Tables by category. Let's say I want to explain these slicers at the top. Let's say I'm in Texas. I only want to see what's happened in Texas. Then I clear all that out. Select TX, scroll down, hit OK. And Now I just have results for Texas. So instead of, what was it, 5,000 something candidates, there's 750 candidates. And this looks at the analysis just for Texas. So you might want to search just by a certain year or certain kinds of any other criteria that's shown here you can use. Uh, okay, back to tables by state. So this is the number of candidates, vote percents. I'm going to go down to the state and year that Libertarian candidates won their races. 20 in California, that's pretty good. 16 in Iowa, 25 in Indiana. Moving on over to the right, 237 in Pennsylvania. So that's a real big number. And a lot of these are from a project called the Moulton Maneuver. Uh, there's a former vice chair of the Libertarian Party. His name is Dr. Chuck Moulton. He was a state chair in Pennsylvania as well, an activist for many years. He brought to my attention the fact that in Pennsylvania, in many cases, it's very easy to be the only candidate on the ballot, which means you'll probably win, almost certainly win if you file and get on the ballot. And that's because the deadline for Republicans and Democrats is in the spring. But then Libertarians have a couple months after that where they're able to file to run for those positions if no Republican or Democrat filed. So we've made some efforts to recruit candidates, and it worked. The first time I helped with it was 2019. Arthur DiBianca and I both helped, and we overall 38 Libertarians won elections in Pennsylvania. And then once we knew how to do it, we did it a lot faster 2 years later and put a lot more effort into it and got 174 Libertarians elected in Pennsylvania. Again, that was something called the Moulton Maneuver. Pioneered by Dr. Chuck Moulton, and Arthur DiBianca and I took the concept, worked with the Libertarian Party of Pennsylvania and Chuck, and got that huge number of Libertarians elected. So, okay, there's some other statistics by state, of course, but we'll move on. Tables by race type. There's a lot of detail on whether it's a nonpartisan or partisan race, how many candidates and opponents on the ballot. This gets, some of you may not be interested in all of that detail, but if you really like to look into the election results and what kind of races can be won and are easy to win, this is the place where you may want to focus and look at that data. So this filter slicer page. So these ovals here are called slicers. They allow you to filter the data. And I'm going to give an example on this page. This is all of the election results. It's not a duplicate. It's not an extra copy of the data. It's a view of the other data. It's a formula that generates this. So, but it's got a lot fewer columns. So if you want to make a list that's easier to read or easier to export or put somewhere, this is the place to do it. Let's say I want to run for state representative in Colorado. I could come to this page, clear out all the other results, and just look at Colorado. Oh, and you select it and then scroll down and hit OK. So now I've got just Colorado candidates, but I also just want to look at state representatives. So I'm going to use this category thing here. So clear everything else out, hit state representative, click OK. All right. So now I've got a list of all the candidates for state representative and their election results. This shows their votes, their percent, 5%, 5, 6, 18%. That's pretty good. 41%. Okay, that's very high for state representative for a libertarian. So that's pretty impressive. Tim Menger for state representative in Colorado got a very high percent. It's worth looking into what happened there. I am familiar with some of the background and I'm not going to get into it here, but it was an interesting case. So when you've done this filtering, now this table is stats for the entire list. So 5,616 candidates. The this table below, sorry, this table down below is just shows what was filtered below. So I guess there's nobody's won in Colorado as a state representative candidate. There were 133. Is that right? That looks about right. 133 candidates for state rep. The max percent 41%, minimum 1.5%. So that's what this table is for. This filter manually table can do similar things. By the way, I'm going to go back here and clear out these slicers just because I don't want them to get in the way of anything I'm selecting here. By the way, when you operate these, they only affect what you're seeing on your computer. Others won't see what you're doing. You're not affecting the source file when you use those. And again, I said you could copy this whole spreadsheet and use it as your own. You can give us credit, but you're welcome to do what you want with it. Come up with your own ways to analyze the data and publish your own information. We're doing this to help libertarians around the country better understand how election results have proceeded, how we've done in the past, and learn from that to help going forward. So this is most votes received. Top 10 lists, most votes received, 4 million down to 1 million. Highest candidate for U.S. Senator, Ricky Dale Harrington Jr. That was in 2020. Very impressive, 33.5%. So the next one was 29%, Joe Miller in Alaska. Gary Johnson, our candidate for president, ran for U.S. Senate in New Mexico 2 years later and got 15.4%. So that was very impressive results for U.S. Senate. And again, we've got this for state representative, U.S. representative, state senator, and others. So on to the winners page. Some of you may only care about libertarians who won their races. So we've got 481 total who are listed here. Scrolling over, the libertarian these are sorted by the number of votes it took to win, or the number of votes they got when they won the election. So the Matthew Bymaster for Palm Beach County Soil and Water Conservation District Group 2 got 242,000 votes. That's the most votes that a winner has received as a libertarian. Jessica Abbott, 120,000 votes. Virginia Beach City Council member. So I didn't realize that I have heard of her winning. I did not realize she was the second highest vote count winner as a libertarian. Now she's listed twice here. She ran twice. Typically we try to list the name as they appeared on the ballot. So I don't know for sure, but it's possible she had her full name spelled out. Jessica Page Abbott 1 year, and 1 year just had the initial P. So moving on down the row, so 60,000. Now down here, it's only taken 8,000 to win, the 26th highest. 1,000 votes, under 1,000 votes. Here we're down to 3 votes, 2 votes, 1 vote to win an election. Now, a lot of these, or if not all of them, you can see are in Pennsylvania. And most of them were write-in candidates. Let's go over here. A municipal officer won by write-in. So got 3 people to write in their name. Auditor, South Middleton Township. So we got a council member elected with 3 votes in Pennsylvania. So that's That's why we went for these elections in Pennsylvania. Easy to win in many cases, and some of them are minor offices, but some like school board. These are significant offices with significant budgets, and definitely worth winning. Okay, that is an overview of this spreadsheet with the election results and winners. I'm going to go back over to the intro page. Again, my name is Wes Benedict. I am a co-founder of the Libertarian Booster Pack, along with Arthur DiBianca. Big thank you again to Arthur DiBianca for collecting all of the source data that went into this spreadsheet and election results. He has collected a lot of the results for the National Libertarian Party, for LP.org, over the years. But in our case here, we included a lot more detail than what you'll find at LP.org. And a lot of the candidates on our list here may not be on LP.org, because we've gone back and went very thoroughly in recent years and added people that we think may have been missed by the National Libertarian Party. So I hope you find this information helpful. I believe I've recruited more Libertarian candidates than anyone else in history. I've recruited several hundred myself. I mean, by that I mean I'm on the phone with them, encouraging them to run for office. I've helped them fill out their campaign finance reports, put together websites and brochures, and helped with other aspects of their campaigns. It's why I formed the Libertarian Booster Pack. It's to help recruit and assist candidates. If you think you find this information helpful, I hope you'll consider going to libertarianboosterpack.org and making a contribution so we can do more projects like this. I wanted to say again about running for office. I encourage people to run for any office, whether it's an office you're likely to win or possibly could win, but even to run if it's a race where you're very unlikely to win because it's such a big race and you're not going to be able to raise enough money. Obviously, when we win elections, we're able to help affect policy directly. But even when we run for something like president or U.S. representative, where it's unlikely we're going to win, we help to publicize the issues that libertarians stand for. We educate the public. We often change their opinions. They might have been against something, and we've explained why they should change their minds. We sometimes actually change the minds of our major party opponents who we run against. We've had Republicans and Democrats who defeated us in one election, but then when they get into the legislature, they've passed some of the policies that we've advocated. So it's great to run for office, whether you're going to win or regardless, even if you don't think you're going to win your race. Again, my name is Wes Benedict. I'm with the Libertarian Booster Pack. You can find us more about us at libertarianboosterpack.org. Thanks for being here.